The knock came at 11:47 p.m., sharp and deliberate, cutting through the silence of the small apartment like a warning shot. Ethan Carter froze mid-step, one sock half pulled on, his eyes drifting instinctively toward his daughter's bedroom. Lily was asleep, thank God, her soft breathing the only sound keeping his world stitched together. Nobody ever came this late. Nobody ever came at all. He moved slowly, quietly, every instinct screaming that whatever waited on the other side of that door did not belong in his fragile, carefully balanced life. When he opened it, the hallway light spilled in, and standing there, perfect posture, tailored coat, eyes sharp even in exhaustion, was Miranda Hale, CEO of Hale Tech, and his boss. The woman who signed his paychecks. The woman who terrified entire boardrooms with a glance. The woman who had absolutely no reason to be standing at his door in the middle of the night. "Ethan," she said softly, her voice not commanding now, not cold, but shaken in a way he'd never heard before. "I need to talk to you. Now." His throat went dry. His mind raced through every possible mistake, every late email, every line of code, every whispered rumor at work. He stepped aside without thinking. She walked in, scanning the modest space, the worn couch, the second-hand bookshelf, the faint smell of instant coffee and laundry detergent. Her eyes lingered on the framed photo by the door, Ethan holding a tiny newborn, exhaustion and devotion etched into his face. "You didn't tell me you had a child," she said quietly. "You didn't ask," he replied, instantly regretting the edge in his voice. He'd spent 3 years keeping work and life separate. Single dad by night. Invisible employee by day. Miranda removed her coat slowly, like she was shedding armor. "I just found out something," she said. "Something that changes everything." Ethan felt his pulse pounding in his ears. "If this is about work." "It's not," she interrupted. "It's about you." Silence stretched between them. Heavy. Dangerous. She looked at him then, not as an employee, not as a subordinate, but as a man standing alone, holding his world together with threadbare strength. "I've been investigating a financial leak inside the company," she said. "Someone who's been sabotaging us for over a year. Tonight, I got confirmation." His heart sank. And they tried to pin it on you." The room seemed to tilt. Ethan laughed once, hollow. "That's impossible." "I know," Miranda said. "That's why I'm here." She met his eyes. "You refused a promotion last year. You never attend company events. You leave exactly at 6. Everyone thought you were hiding something." "I was," he said quietly. "My daughter." Miranda exhaled, something close to pain flickering across her face. "Ethan, you worked overtime for months without pay during the server crash. You wrote patches that saved us millions. You never took credit. And when I looked deeper, when I really looked, I realized something else." He swallowed. "What?" She stepped closer. "You're the reason Hale Tech survived its worst year." Outside, rain began tapping against the windows, mirroring the chaos inside him. This woman, this powerful, untouchable figure, stood in his living room like she'd crossed a line she couldn't uncross. "I should never have doubted you," she said. "And tonight, someone tried to make sure you'd never get the chance to defend yourself." Ethan felt a cold wave wash over him. "Are we in danger?" She nodded. "Which is why I'm staying here tonight." "What?" "There are people who don't want the truth out," she said. "And right now, the safest place for me, and for you, is together." From the hallway, Lily's sleepy voice drifted out. "Daddy." Ethan turned instantly, heart in his throat. Miranda followed him as he knelt by Lily's bed, soothing her, brushing her hair back with practiced tenderness. Miranda watched, something cracking open in her chest as she saw the men she'd overlooked, underestimated, standing as a fortress for a little girl who trusted him with her entire life. When Lily fell back asleep, Miranda whispered, "You're a good father." Ethan didn't answer. He couldn't. Because for the first time in years, someone had seen him, not the struggling single dad, not the disposable employee, but the man who held everything together. And as Miranda Hale sat on his couch, exhaustion finally breaking through her steel exterior, Ethan realized this night would change everything. And if you're feeling the tension building, don't go anywhere. Subscribe now, because what happens next will shock you. Miranda didn't sleep that night. Neither did Ethan. They sat on opposite ends of the couch, the city humming beyond the windows, both pretending the space between them wasn't charged with everything left unsaid. At 2:13 a.m., her phone buzzed. She read the message, her jaw tightening. "They're panicking," she said. "Which means we're close." "To what?" Ethan asked. "The truth," she replied. "And the truth has a way of destroying people who think they're untouchable." By morning, Ethan's life began unraveling in ways he couldn't control. HR emails. Suspended accounts. A sudden, internal review. Miranda shut it all down with one call, her authority crashing through the system like a storm. "You're not suspended," she told him. "You're promoted." "What?" "Effective immediately," she said. "Head of Systems Integrity." Ethan stared at her. "I didn't ask for this." "I know," she said softly. "That's why you deserve it. But power comes with enemies." And the closer they got to exposing the real traitor, a trusted executive, someone Miranda had once considered family, the more dangerous things became. Threats turned real. Windows shattered. A warning note appeared on Ethan's car seat while Lily was at school. He almost quit. Almost ran. Until Miranda stood in his doorway again, daylight this time, fear naked in her eyes. "If you walk away," she said, "they win." "I won't risk my daughter," he snapped. "Neither will I," she said. "Because I care about her. And about you." The admission stunned him more than any threat ever could. Somewhere between late nights, shared coffee, whispered strategies, and silent moments watching Lily draw at the kitchen table, something changed. Miranda Hale, the woman who ruled skyscrapers, found peace in a small apartment. And Ethan Carter, the man who thought he was invisible, realized he had power beyond survival. The truth finally broke during a board meeting that would be remembered for decades. Evidence displayed. Lies exposed. Arrests made. When it was over, Miranda looked at Ethan across the table and smiled, not the CEO smile, but something real. Something earned. "You saved me," she said later. He shook his head. "No. I just stopped hiding." Months passed. Life steadied. Promotion settled. Lily laughed louder. And one quiet evening, Miranda knocked on his door again, this time without fear, without urgency. "I don't need protection tonight," she said. "I just didn't want to be alone." Ethan stepped aside, heart full, future open. Not because he needed saving, but because he'd finally allowed himself to be seen. And if this story moved you, even a little, subscribe to the channel. Because stories like this remind us that sometimes, the quietest people carry the strongest hearts, and the greatest stories are the ones nobody saw coming. The third knock came 3 weeks later, and this time, Ethan wasn't afraid, but his heart still skipped like it remembered how fear felt. Miranda stood outside again, but now she wore no coat, no armor, just a simple sweater and exhaustion that had nothing to do with boardrooms or enemies. She looked human. Vulnerable. "I resigned today," she said quietly, as if saying it too loudly might make it unreal. Ethan blinked. "You, what?" She stepped inside, the familiar scent of coffee and home wrapping around her like a memory she hadn't earned but desperately needed. "I sold my controlling shares," she continued. "The board begged me to stay. I didn't." She looked at Lily's drawings on the fridge, the crooked sun, the stick-figure family that now suspiciously included a tall woman with long hair. "I was tired of winning everything except my life." Ethan didn't know what to say. He'd watched her fight sharks without flinching, dismantle enemies with surgical precision, and stand tall while her world burned, and yet now, standing in his kitchen, she looked like someone who'd finally put down a weight she'd carried too long. "Why tell me?" he asked. Miranda met his eyes. Because when everything went wrong, this place was the only one that felt real. Silence stretched between them, warm and dangerous. Lily ran in then, waving a crumpled piece of paper. "Daddy. Look. I drew Auntie Mira." Miranda laughed, an unguarded sound that startled even her. She knelt, eyes soft. "Is that me?" Lily nodded proudly. "You're in our family now." That word, family, hit harder than any boardroom betrayal ever had. That night, they cooked together, burned the pasta, laughed at nothing. And when Lily fell asleep on the couch between them, Miranda didn't move. Neither did Ethan. Something fragile was being built, brick by brick, in the quiet moments no one ever talks about. But peace never lasts long for people who've lived in storms. A call came near midnight. A familiar name flashed on Miranda's phone. Her face tightened. "They're not done," she whispered. "And now, they're coming for you." The next weeks tested everything. Media leaks painted Ethan as a puppet. Rumors twisted Miranda's intentions. Old enemies resurfaced with new threats. One afternoon, Ethan found a note tucked under his windshield: "You should have stayed invisible." He stood there shaking, not from fear, but from rage. He was done running. That night, he made a choice. He stood beside Miranda at a press conference, not behind her, not hidden. "I'm not her weakness," he said into the cameras. "I'm her proof." The room went silent. And somewhere out there, millions of people watching realized something powerful: strength doesn't always look loud. If you're feeling this shift, if you're invested in what happens next, subscribe now. Because Chapter 4 changes everything. The storm broke quietly. No sirens. No headlines. Just consequences. The final players behind the sabotage were exposed, not by force, but by patience. Miranda taught Ethan how power really worked, not control, but timing. When the arrests came, they felt almost anticlimactic. What mattered more was the morning after, the sunlight pouring into the apartment, Lily laughing, Ethan making pancakes while Miranda sat barefoot on the counter, watching a life she never thought she'd deserve unfold in front of her. "I don't know how to do normal," she admitted. Ethan smiled softly. "Neither do I. But we can learn." Months later, they stood on a small stage, not a corporate one, but a community center. Miranda announced a foundation focused on overlooked talent, single parents, quiet geniuses, people who carried worlds without recognition. She handed the mic to Ethan. "This man," she said, "reminded me that leadership isn't about being above people. It's about standing beside them." Applause filled the room. Lily clapped the loudest. That night, after the crowd left, Miranda lingered by the door. "I'm not knocking because I need help anymore," she said. "I'm knocking because this feels like home." Ethan didn't answer. He just opened the door wider. Later, as Lily slept and the city hummed beyond the windows, Miranda whispered the words that once froze him in fear, now warm with promise. "I'm not your boss anymore." Ethan met her gaze. "Good," he said. "Because I don't need saving. I just need someone who stays." She nodded, eyes shining. "I'm not going anywhere." And that's the truth people forget: sometimes the strongest stories aren't about power, wealth, or revenge, but about choosing each other after the world tries to tear you apart. If this story touched you, subscribe to the channel. Because the next story might just remind you that quiet strength can change everything.